be at a different radio station about every year for a long time. we always had a new place to go vacationing, and it's usually west. And you know, I listened to tapes and tapes of him, and loved his voice. We talk on the phone. I listened to him forever, and he loved to talk to me. But I love my brother, and I'm gonna miss him. And thank you all for showing your love for him. Thank you.
So I did get my dad's gift for Gab. I was a DJ for 3 years until I started having kids. I have, thank you. I have the old stories, the before California, Oregon stories. Before Dad went into radio, and before I was born, actually, he was a clown in full makeup for a minor. He was a janitor in high school. What else did he do? I don't have anything with me. He did a lot of funky jobs until he was working for an oil company and decided that just wasn't for him. So he took a pay cut and he became what you guys all know. And thank God for that, right? He was my idol as well, which is why I went into radio. I got his rhythm. I was also a drummer. My son is a drummer. My daughter's a musician. She's going to come out to school out here, so hopefully, you know, she'll keep it up, you know, keep the music going. And I was privileged to know my dad, even though we didn't always keep in touch. I was really privileged to know him and to be his daughter. So I thank you guys all for coming and honoring him.
I really have to tell a bear story or two. First of all, for those who remember, I met Bear working at Cave, and of course, about 14 years ago we lost Rooster, and now Bear. And I was kind of the young punk from Jersey then, and those guys kind of put me in my place. And I was in overdrive all the time, a million miles a minute, and they both taught me, pace yourself, relax, enjoy yourself on the air. Kind of, you know, in that one scene in The Big Lebowski, where Sam Elliott says, "Take her easy, dude, I know you will." That was kind of like Bear and Rooster, but we had started our station and we were at the Eugene Hilton, and because we were big shots and going to be very successful, we moved to a beautiful location downtown. And we had 3 owners, buddies of mine from Jersey. 2 were on vacation, and another was at lunch or something, and Bear was on from 10 to 3. And I walk in, and I notice Bear's kind of leaning out the window, and he was smoking, and yeah, it wasn't nicotine. And so I'm like looking at him, and he gives me the eternal, you want? I'm like, well, shit, I moved from Philadelphia to the West Coast. I'm going to be laid back. Why not be a rock DJ? And the song that was on, this is 92, Losing My Religion. And the reason I remember that is because if you met Bear and you met me, and if we've had a drink or something, there's a blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it's about 10, 12 minutes, and we realize, wow, there's been a lot of REM playing. And if you've ever been in radio, then you used to actually play the song. The CD, Losing My Religion, is the 2nd cut. So now we're at the 3rd cut, the 4th cut, the 5th cut. And I look at Bear, I'm like, think we've heard enough REM? And without missing a beat, goes behind the board, gives me the 1 second, waits for about 45 seconds till the song ends. He goes, well, I figured you guys loved the 1 cut. We'd play a bunch of cuts on it. Just smooth as silk. And just, I remember when Rooster passed, getting up and speaking, and the one thing about those 2 guys, the sense of decency. And the way that their heart kind of dictated the pace of their life, their friends, you could see anybody here. And for somebody like Bear, always missed never forgotten. And Adam is right, he would have loved this. So thank you all so much for coming. It's a beautiful thing.
This is an incredible night for me. I haven't been up in Eugene for a while, and to see some of the old faces from KFNY, the station I worked at in program back in the 70s. Bear and I worked at 3 separate stations. I stopped counting 3. He was my roommate, and wow, I have so many Bear stories, like the night that, you know, back in those days, if you wanted to go out and smoke a joint, you put it on the dark side of the moon. We went out into the parking lot, and he said, "Oh, Gary, can you go back and make sure the record's okay?" "Okay, sure." And a cop came in and saw he was smoking a J and was going to bust him, until he found out that he was the guy on the air at KSJO, and let him go. But the story I wanted to tell was about how Bear and Dorothy met. Well, Bear came up here, worked at KSL, worked at KFNY, and came back down to San Jose. And at that time, the station had brought in a program director named Michael Harrington, who was one of the most incredibly creative and talented people I've ever worked for. His basic philosophy was to set up a station that was like a movie and had a character, and each one of the DJs, we were freeform at that time, had their own part to play. But we had outrageous promotions. You know, one night we had people dress up, or the entire staff dressed up in gangster uniforms, you know, gangster stuff, and we had a party. It was called Keep a Mess with Elliot Ness. And one night, this was a riff we actually won. We'd have listeners come in with their postcards about crashing their parties. And we would have this old white Rolls Royce. We'd load it down with booze. I mean, so much booze you couldn't believe it. And one of the parties that we crashed happened to be a friend of Dorothy's. And we come rolling in there, and we're all loaded. And we bring in all this booze, and it was like an instant antenna between Dorothy and Bear. It was incredible. There was a video taken that night of the whole thing, but it was Dorothy's friend who did it, and we had no way of tracking it down. So, can a Sagittarian, freewheeling, independent, make it with a home body cancer? Definitely, for sure. And I love Dorothy, I love both of them. They've been great friends over the years. And thank you guys. Thank you, Andy, for encouraging me to come up here from California. It's one of the best things I ever did. And I love all of you guys, and anybody that ever worked with Bear know the outrageous sense of humor he had. He was a gentle man with a beautiful, beautiful heart. And he had my back a lot, believe me. Amen. Woo!
So my name is Andy Harrison, and I had a brief career here in radio on many stations. I was always amazed at how I managed to get myself fired from almost every station in Oregon.
Don't panic.
And my radio name at that time was Captain Organic. And the problem was none of the station owners wanted me to use that name. You know, they just didn't understand it. And
I don't get it.
It's great tonight because both Tim and Jeff Young are here, and their dad Duke. He was some guy. He owned KFMY, and Bear and I worked together, and we roomed together back then in the 70s. And Bear used to save me at KFMY constantly. When Gary had finally given up, and the old man was saying, "You got to get rid of that guy, Organic, whatever his name is." And Bear would come in and calm him down. And one afternoon, I played a Frank Zappa song called "Call Any Vegetable." And it had the F word in it about 6 times. It was on Saturday artist in the library that Duke liked, and that was John Denver. And I happened to come in one day and I saw this John Denver record in the rotation. I said, no. I pulled it out of the jacket, I put it over on my knee, and put the pieces back in, and even Bear couldn't save me from that one. And there was a KZL when I was at KFMY, we were rooming for a while. Sometimes we were on at the same time on a Saturday afternoon, and we would kind of like to play with the audience, so we put the same exact song on at the same time, because he was at 96 and we were at 98. And our audience, half of them were just loaded to the max. And I go, I don't want to hear that song. Wait a minute. So we had a great old time. And we kind of lost touch. I went back to Southern California. I came back to Eugene in '94, and I've actually been back here since then. And we connected a little bit in the '90s, but then kind of lost touch until about a year and a half ago. And finally said, you know, I got to see more of Bear. And we started seeing each other and spending time with Dorothy and doing stuff. And in fact, I was fortunate enough that last night that Bear was with us. We went to this Rick Floyd show at the Holt Center. It was just one of the most amazing rock shows. I've seen the real Pink Floyd, and this stand was every bit as good. In fact, I was sitting next to Bear, and at the intermission, I said, gee, you know, if I knew it was going to be this good, I would have eaten some mushrooms. And he laughed, he had a great laugh, and he was just a great human being. I mean, anybody that knew him really loved him, because he just did a lot in the community in the late 90s when he went to KRVM, and he mentored a lot of kids. I'm sure Cam will tell you. He was really loved in the community, and he just had those pipes, those golden pipes. You know, he couldn't be denied. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people here with some great stories with Bear, and I just wanted to come up and say I really miss him, and I'm sure everybody here does. And it's great that his son Adam is such a fantastic kid, very talented. And, you know, he got to see his beautiful grandchild at least for 6 months, and he just loved that kid. And it was a great, you know, he was just a great guy. So I just wanted to say put my 2 cents in, and thank everybody for showing up. It's like we picked the right size room, and I guess I'm glad when I went with a radio name, I didn't go with the animals. Rooster, Bear. So, but anyway, pick them up once you come up. Let's get
whatever KZL, you know, and I came from Utah, where you know, stations like KZL and KFMY had not even received them. And so Bear told me, he said, well, this is what's called a syndicated segue, right? And if anybody who mastered the syndicated segue, it was Bear. So he took out an album by Ken Nordine called Word Jams, and played a song called What Time Is It? Right now it's 3 minutes and 52 seconds, this piece. And right in the middle of it, all of a sudden he started Pink Floyd. Right? And the end of the Ken Nordine story says, where the time now is, Big Wind of Time by Pink Floyd, taking away the moments that make up a cool day. That is the most fabulous segue I had ever heard in my life. And I just said, and this was just, you know, to have talent like that in our community and be able to, you know, enjoy what he did on the air for us was just amazing. And we'll certainly miss it.